Ooh, okay, so this is a great first question. How did you get in Skuffed? Into Skuffed, not inside of Skuffed. That's for future fan fiction. Huh, that's a good question. So the funny thing is, I don't have a full answer. I don't really know how. I know how I got into Skuffed, but I don't know what led up to that decision. I don't know what they were talking about behind the scenes. I've never bothered to ask them because, to be honest, I don't really care. That's their business, not mine. I'm sure they were roasting me. You know, what is a pop R&B techno guitarist doing in our hardcore band? So I can only speculate what I think happened. It was around the time when I started going to a lot of local shows for the first time, and Scuff just happened to be at every single one of those shows that I was at. I never went up to say hi to them. I was too scared to. Not just them, but every band. I did not want to bother them, right? But, you know, over time, I got more comfortable, and I started talking to Sabbath. I don't remember how it went down, but I believe he asked for my Instagram. And I don't know if he saw one of my live streams or he saw a clip of me playing guitar. I'm only assuming here. And I'm assuming he brought me up to Scuffed. He said like, hey, you guys should probably check this guy out. I don't know. I think that's what happened. But that's just my theory, game theory, because Sabbath did not reach out to me. It was actually Moses, the frontman of Scuffed, who reached out to me directly. And we ended up talking in the DMs. He said, hey, you know, would you like to, you know, try out or audition, practice with us for a little bit? And then here's fun fact. I actually said no the first time they asked. I said, no, you know what? I can make you guys a list of guitarists who I think are more suitable for this job than I'll ever be, right? But Moses was so adamant, and he kept pushing like, hey, you know, I know you probably don't want to do this, but at least try. You know, we at least want to hear you out. Oh man, I don't remember if I asked for more time to think about it. No, I said yes immediately. And I only know that because I instantly regretted it because I texted all my closest friends and my other bandmates from my other bands. I said, hey, I think I'm going to try out for this band. This seems a little different than usual. It seems a little more special to me. I don't know how to describe it, but I think I'm going to try it, at least try. And, you know, you guys have to thank all my friends. Unanimously, they all agreed and they said, hey, this is made for you. This spot is made for you. Don't worry about us. Worry about what you want to do, and we'll talk about it later. Now, almost a full year with Skuffed, here I am. So crazy how it works out. So, which by the way, people keep thinking I've been with them since the beginning. No, I joined them this year. I believe they've been a band since 2022. I don't know. I didn't read the Skuffed handbook they gave me. I did not care about the lore. Just kidding. I love you guys. Also, I'm not like a what if kind of person. So I don't care about my past, and I'm too dumb to think into the future. But it is fun to think about who else was on that candidate list for Skuffed. I wonder who else would have joined. I have an idea of who I would have wanted for Skuffed. Crazy to think about. Thank you for that question, by the way. So this question is actually from my YouTube comments. You create music, but is there anything else you create? I do create other stuff. If anyone follows my Instagram, you know that I like to do digital art about mental health and just draw about things that I'm feeling. Not just for myself, but maybe in the hopes that someone out there knows that they're not alone in these feelings, and you know, they can look at it and be like, oh, I'm inspired by that. I know it's really cringy of me, but I do carry my diary with me everywhere I go, just so I can write down some poems. Oh wait, how could I forget? I do animation. I've done a whole animated series. I finished the first season. You can watch it on my YouTube channel. I'm sure I'll place it right here. I have a playlist. I don't want to spoil anything of it, but you can watch it right there. I guess if you consider my YouTube videos content, then maybe I'm a content creator to you, but I don't consider myself that. So I guess I would just say I do music, I do poetry, I do animation, and digital art. So that's the things that I like to do. And if you want to check it out, feel free to. Everything I do is open source. Feel free to steal it. You know, I don't care. Get inspired by it. Do whatever you want. So this question also comes from my YouTube comments. Have you ever written any lyrics of your own? I'm assuming you mean for Skuffed. And no, I haven't actually. I'm going to leave that to Moses. I'm not a lyricist, especially not for hardcore music. What am I going to write about? So I'll leave it to him in the meantime. What is a good album to start with for Megadeth? So let me clear up a misconception here. I love Megadeth, but I don't listen to them 24/7 like people think I do. You know, you'll never catch me listening to them in the car or just out and about. I like to study their solos, but I really appreciate that you would come to me to ask this question. So I have two answers for different reasons. The correct answer is Rust in Peace. Everyone in the world will probably tell you that. It's a fantastic thrash metal album. If you love guitar solos, if you love lightning fast riffs, if you want to get introduced to Megadeth, that's the album that I would recommend. However, and this is a big however, if you're a beginner guitar player wanting to get into more intermediate type of rhythms, I cannot recommend Euthanasia enough. That's my favorite Megadeth album. I think it's a very beautiful melodic album. It's very underrated in my opinion. And I understand this album isn't very fast. It's not a thrash metal album. I would not consider it that. It is great for beginner guitarists. I will say this with my full chest. I think learning one song from this album will teach you more about guitar than learning the entirety of Rust in Peace. The rhythm guitars are very intricate. They're not fast, but they're very difficult. And if you can master the rhythms in this album, I mean, you're on track to being a great guitarist. Also, great solos from Marty Friedman as well, but the rhythm guitars are fantastic, fantastic. Of course, some other albums of theirs, I love Killing Is My Business. I love So Far, So Good, So What. I think that album's actually a bit underrated. The System Has Failed just because Chris Poland's guitar solos are alien. They're very wild, and I love his guitar playing. Of course, Dystopia, Kiko being one of my favorite guitar players, if not my favorite guitar player. I don't know, my answer could change, but I love Kiko, so the solos of his are absolutely mental. In the end, I recommend Rust in Peace, and if you don't like that album, you probably won't like the rest of their music, but if you do, feel free to check out the other albums that I recommended. Honestly, up to you. It's all a matter of taste, really. What is your favorite guitar solo? I don't have a favorite guitar solo. I'm not a very nostalgic person, so I don't have like this guitar solo changed my life forever. Every time I hear a new guitar solo and I really like it, that is my favorite guitar solo for that time. And 20 years from now, that will still be the case. If I hear a new guitar solo that I've never heard before, that's my new obsession, right? So I don't have a favorite guitar solo, but I guess now that we were on the topic of Megadeth, I remember hearing Kiko's solo in Dystopia, the first solo, and those 5 seconds of hybrid picking, that sounds like this. Now imagine a much younger Jesus, who's just started out playing guitar, listening to that for the first time. I was blown away. I was like, I don't know how he's doing that. I don't know what that sound is, but I want to learn how to do that. And keep in mind, there were no tabs on how to play that solo, so I just had to brute force it, just learn by ear. It took me like 4 years to learn the technique and 4 more years to actually master this solo. Well, master. I got close enough, and I guess I'll pat myself on the back. I'm proud of that. But to answer your question, I'll put some of my favorite guitar solos that I've heard recently up on the screen, and feel free to check them out. Did you really improvise My Love For You? Just the solos. So the backing track, so the rhythm guitars, the bass, and the drums, those were all written out and played beforehand. So that song originally had lyrics on it. I'm sure there's a file on my computer of that version of My Love For You. But in the end, I decided to do a guitar solo over the whole thing. It just seemed more fitting to me. So for the most part, yes, the guitar solos were just improvised. I'm gonna say 70-80%. I did write some parts down, but for the most part, I just played a part over and over again and just recorded what came out. So yeah, I guess most of it was improvised, but take what you can get, I guess. Same with the acoustic intro. A little bit of it was written down, but most of it was just improvised. Honestly, the most difficult part about the acoustic intro was trying not to mess it up in one take. There's a lot of frustration there, but glad I had an okay take. Any updates on Komoda? I understand if you can't answer that. Anyways, can't wait to play with Skuffed again, 928 Slam. At the time of this recording, we already played together, and you guys did fantastic. For those who are unaware, Komoda is the other band that I'm in. We are very much so together, but of course being in Skuffed and then being part of many other projects and then my own solo stuff. So it's very difficult to find the time to get together. We have a lot of stuff written out, but we just haven't gotten around to recording it. Komoda, just like me, lives very private lives, so I will not update you on them because I'm going to respect their privacy. But just know that we're very much so together. And now that Skuffed is taking a semi-break here soon, I'd like to get back together with them, but only time will tell. So, thank you for asking. How do you even learn to mix? Had a hard time mixing Plethora Mansion's EP. Well, first off, I'm gonna stop you right there, because I don't like Plethora Mansion. Reason number 1, you guys are way too handsome. 2, you guys are way too talented for, frankly, this community. 3rd, you guys got like 1,000 fangirls and fanboys, and one of your fangirls socked me right in the face. And it was at that moment when I realized, oh my god, this band is too special. And 4th, you guys are way too handsome, again. No, but seriously, mixing is a very difficult thing. I totally understand your pain, because there's always someone around to teach you an instrument, piano, bass, guitar, but there's no one around to teach you how to mix. And that's the difficulties. Well, how do you get help? Man, I'd love to answer your question, but it would take me this whole video, especially when it comes to mixing. I do have an upcoming series where I'm going to go over how I mixed Moni and the Fubs EP, so you could definitely learn a lot from there. Other than that though, so my first piece of advice, and keep in mind I wasn't taught how to mix either, but use a reference track. Especially if you're starting out, use a reference track. And if you don't know what a reference track is, it's essentially you find a track that's close to yours, the same genre, same ballpark. So let's take Plethora Mansion, for example. I would find a shoegaze song and then put that into the DAW where I'm mixing, and I would compare it. But remember to take creative liberties, right? Don't steal what they do note for note. Don't copy their mix one for one. Study the music though. How much reverb do they use? How loud do they have their drums? How loud do they have their vocals, their guitars? It's stuff like that. My second piece of advice, and I believe you talked to me about this in person, how you kind of have some things mono and some things hard pan left and right. Remember, we have a whole panning spectrum, right? So don't just pan hard left and hard right. Put some things a little bit to the left, some things a little bit to the right. When it comes to shoegaze, they really utilize the whole wall of sound. So any direction you can pinpoint, there's something going on. That's something I would look into. I'm sorry I couldn't give you more advice. I only have so much time to work with here. But please look forward to my mixing series, and I hope you find some good tips there. Anyways, make sure to check out the boys at Plethora Mansion. I believe it's Michael, Carlos, Diego, who am I missing? Francisco. So please check out their band. I saw Skuffed at Prison Hill for the first time. What the F, dude? Monster guitarist. What, where, how do you play like that? Thank you, but I'm anything but. Okay, so I can already hear the people screaming at me when I say this, but I'm not a good guitarist. I'm not anywhere I want to be, but I also understand I'm in a position that others want to be in. Ultimately, I truly believe that anybody, given enough time and practice and discipline, can do what I do miles better. I truly believe that. I don't know, maybe I am really hard on myself, but I don't think I'm anything special, at least compared to some other guitarists here in the scene. I've seen and heard some really unique guitars, things that I can't do, right? But I really appreciate that you think that I'm like a monster guitarist. I like that phrase. I gotta start using that for other people. Also, based on what you asked, I'm assuming you also play guitar and maybe you're looking for some advice. So of course, everyone's going to say practice. I think that's the correct answer. But above all else, discipline. Discipline is very important. And when I say practice discipline, I don't mean pick up the guitar or any instrument for like 4 hours a day, but at least pick it up every day. Maybe 30 minutes at the minimum. Play before you go to sleep or play in the morning. I think that's very important, especially if you want to be a lead guitarist. You at least want to use your instrument every day, as difficult as that may be. And I don't know about you, but personally, I have a lot of hard days where, I don't want to get out of bed, or sometimes I don't get out of bed. But I've always found a way to put guitar into my schedule. No matter how tough my day may be, I always at least try for 20, 30 minutes. And that always seems to do the job well. But thank you for your question. What keeps you motivated to keep performing? Sometimes I'm not. Well, that's not entirely true. I think I am always motivated, but sometimes my more negative thoughts beat that motivation. As some of you might recall, I took a break from Skuffed. It was supposed to be for 1 month, but it ended up being 2.5. I mean, the real reason was because of life situations and things I had to take care of. But the motivation wasn't really there sometimes to come back, so I extended my break. To be honest, it took me a long time to realize this, but the biggest thing that motivates me, and it happens at every show, is, you. Not just you who asked the question, but the audience. There's just something so powerful about people going to a show to watch not just me perform, but my bandmates perform, other bands perform, and then getting to meet new people, seeing new people show up to shows. It's always fun, especially with out-of-town shows where, I'm the outsider and I feel at home, It's a very powerful thing. So like I said earlier, I could have all these negative thoughts going on, but the biggest motivator, the one that I always come back to, is you guys, this is the audience. I know that sounds like a very stereotypical answer, but it is true. So thank you for your question. That's a very good question. What do you enjoy about making music? It's a great question. Music is the medium that I feel the most comfortable representing myself and how I feel. And there's a lot of mediums that I don't know how to release everything that's dark and ugly up here, Oh, for example, photographers. I don't understand how a photographer can find enjoyment in taking pictures. I don't understand the world that they live in, but I understand why they're doing it. Just like they may not understand how music helps me. To them, music could just be noise. I mean, I don't even like taking pictures of myself, So, and all the drawings there are of me, they're not the prettiest, But that's my point. Music is my snapshot of my life. Everything I've written, I know where I was at, what I was feeling when I wrote them. There's some songs that I listen back to and it hits me harder now than it did back then. When I wrote Breakout, I was already not in a good place, but listening to it now, it hits me harder than it did back then. And I think that's very magical. But above all else, the fact that anybody can listen to my music and love it or absolutely hate it, they feel something. How is that not special? I enjoy making music because it helps me and potentially others to make bad days better and hopefully good days the best. So that's why I enjoy making music. What? I was just about to say, how about we lighten up the mood with the funny question? What's your kink? Jesus. Had I read that any other day, I would have answered you honestly, but today I'm not feeling that freaky or kinky. So how do I go about this? I'm just going to give you a more wholesome answer. I might have said this in my Instagram live, but I've always thought asymmetry is super cute, and I don't know why. Am I crazy for thinking that? Because no one else thinks like that too, right? I like it when someone's hair is dyed differently from one side and the other, or someone has a scar on one side of their face but not the other. I just think it's very cute. Okay, so recent example. I went to the local theater here, and one of the workers, she had freckles on one side of her face but not the other. And I don't know if it was makeup or genetic, but she was very beautiful. I wasn't going to say anything, but she was offensively beautiful. I got a little mad because people could just walk around looking like that, and I look like this, So it's so insane that some people just win the genetic lottery. People are just beautiful, man. That's the problem. Everyone's just too beautiful. Wait, but let me reiterate, asymmetry is not my kink. It's just something I find attractive. Honestly, do you guys really want to know what I think every day? I'm pretty sure you guys have seen them, but have you ever seen those anime pictures where it's like an anime girl or boy? And they're always like super compressed, and the white text says something like, oh, when he doesn't rearrange my guts for the 40th time today. Take those images, add a little more JPEG. Who cares about the text, because they always say the same stupid thing. And maybe stretch it out a little bit. That's what I feel like every day. Literally every day, that's just my mind. I don't know what's wrong with me. What the heck's wrong with me? Am I stupid? What the heck's wrong with me? If you were a guitarist for another band, which band would it be? That's a great question, actually. Wow, that's a good question. Oh man, how much trouble do I want to get in? Oh god, that's a very difficult question. You know what? Move over, Moses. I'm going into Prisoners. Put me in, coach. Sorry, Moses. Actually, when it comes to hardcore bands, I think I'd like to join Existence. But for non-hardcore bands, I'd like to imagine myself in probably one of the Pleathers. So Pleather or Pleather Mansion. Oh, Mystic Fusion. I think that'd be really fun. Even though I think it's cheating because I have played with them before, but that'd be really cool. And no, I don't plan on joining another band at the moment. This is just me living my fantasy. That is an awesome question, by the way. I'm gonna ask people that. Who's your biggest inspiration? I have a lot of inspirations, but if we're talking about the music scene, Official JL, I think they're very inspirational. They're what I wish I was when I was younger. And I don't know what it is about their music, but like I said earlier, I'm not a very nostalgic person, but it kind of makes me wish I went back to my high school days. Something about their music really reminds me of days of old, I really like their music. Of course, there's Komoda and Skuffed, who have taken me under their wing and taught me a lot about how to play with other people. I have to thank them for that. Yeah, I don't know. Everyone in the scene is inspirational to me in some aspect or another. I mean, everyone's my inspiration. But if we're talking about not music, I'd probably my biggest inspiration. Oh, and shout out to the promoters. I have no idea how you guys do what you do, how you guys get bands together. I hate social media, so the idea of having to have a bunch of bands get together and scheduling that out is terrifying to me, so thank you so much for that. And finally, the last question. Are you okay? I'm a very emotional boy, so that kind of hit me. Yeah, I'm okay. This week wasn't very great, but it also wasn't very bad either. It was just okay. And I'm just now learning that it's okay to just feel okay sometimes. Physically though, my body could be doing better. My arm problems have started to reemerge, so I need to do something about that. And thank you very much. The fact that you even care to ask that tells me a lot about your character, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. And made my whole day better now, so thank you. Anyways, big thank you to whoever stuck around to the very end of this video. I get the feeling this video might be like 40 minutes long, but I'm gonna try to do my best to edit it down to a reasonable size. We'll see. Yeah, so I don't know if I'll make another Q&A. I'm not sure. We'll see what the future holds. But until then, you're special. Until next time. You guys want to hear a funny story that happened like 2 weeks ago? This was after a show. We went to go eat somewhere, and I went to go use the restroom to wash my face. And this guy walks in, and he went to go wash his hands, and I could see the sinks weren't very high, so I could see in the mirror that his zipper was down. I was like, "Hey man, I don't want to be able to tell you this, but your zipper's down." And he looks at me and goes, "Yes, I'm aware. I don't want to talk about it." And he walks out. That's the kind of energy I want when I'm 60 years old and I hate my life, that I could just do stuff like that. Like, you're so right, King. Sorry I asked. Sorry I bothered your day. I don't know what he's doing now, but I hope he's living his best life. That's crazy. Anyways, bye. I'm done. I'm done.